Well, good morning, a very frosty morning, one and all, and it's time for the Russy Rumour Roundup. A very good Monday morning to you all, my friends. 2-game week as well, 2-game home tomorrow and obviously Saturday. If you are going tomorrow, don't forget to get yourself to the fan zone, which is right next to the stadium. There's a very special ex-player who will be making an appearance there. Thomas Rebka. Maybe. And it will be appearing exclusive in the West Ham network as well in the next week or so. So keep an eye on that. Christ knows how that's going to go on, but we don't know. Anyway, obviously, yes. Oh, chair just broke. Obviously, yesterday, Anton gave us relayed the devastating news, really, in terms of Nicklas Füllkrug being up to at least 3 months out with his hamstring injury. That's what we're led to be believed, and it's clear, particularly when you look at Jarrod Bowen, he's unlikely to be back in a West Ham shirt on the pitch until February, that we need to get moving pretty sharpish, particularly with strikers. And anyone new to the channel, what we do is we go through all the rumours so you don't have to, basically. All the players we've been linked with, all the ITK news, and we give them our sort of spin on it, what we think. And I need to say, warning, I'm not saying we're signing every one of these players. In fact, we shall keep a sort of tally. I think that's about 30 players we've been linked to already, which isn't a lot. I'm sure it's going to ramp up now. The managerial head coach sort of situation has been sort of sorted, and so I'm pretty sure it's going to ramp up. And there's a lot of strikers, obviously, and it does look like Ligue 1 is going to be our saviour, so to speak, in terms of where we are fishing for these players. So let's get into it. Let's talk about. Let's firstly find my files. That might help. And let's talk about the first player. This gentleman is someone that we've been linked with quite often. At least 2 transfer windows we've been linked with him when he was at Montpellier, Eli Wahi. Now, according to L'Equipe, the French news outlet, West Ham have concrete interest in the Marseille striker, although the league outfit are somewhat reluctant to sanction his exit. He was a summer transfer to Marseille from Montpellier. We obviously were looking at him beforehand, even like the previous transfer window as well, but that interest has been reignited at the London Stadium, obviously following the news about Nicklas Füllkrug's injury. His spell at Montpellier saw him notch double figures for goals in consecutive seasons, showcasing the fact that he can score goals, and he's just 22 years old, so plenty of time on his hand. He's not had a fantastic season for Marseille, but it's one of those things where, and there is a lot of negative stuff out there in terms of him as a person. So I don't know whether Potter has an MOT test like David Moyes used to, but I don't think he's going to be the answer to what we need. I think we've got a lot of those types of players, like fast, small, diminutive, think like Kudus and people like that. I don't think he's the answer. I don't think he's the Messiah. He's a very naughty boy by all accounts. The Russy Rumour rating, the original Rumour rating, still gives it a 60% because we might be desperate come by the end. Obviously, we've got irons in the fire with Evan Ferguson, although Brighton are reluctant to do anything until the end of the transfer window. So we'd probably need to move on elsewhere. And could we be staying in France? Another player we've been linked to previously, at least twice, is Gaëtan Laborde. He's currently at Nice, and he's fair to say he's in the twilight of his career. However, according to Foot Mercato, West Ham are preparing a move for the long-standing transfer target. They reported at the weekend that Nice are prepared to let the forward leave this month, basically to reduce their wage bill, in all honesty. And we have reignited our interest in him in the summer. In the summer, I think it's 2022, we put an offer in. He was at Montpellier for about 12.5 million quid, I think, at the time. And following Nicholas's injury, it seems we've reignited that interest. Now, for me, Laborde is more likely because of the role that Nicholas Füllkrug plays. As I've said before, you look at sort of Potter's side in Brighton. Having someone like Glenn Murray, sort of more of a older forward, but an old school forward as well, more physical, not necessarily going to have the pace to break the lines of defence, but mainly link up play and allows the people around him to break lines. And I think Gaetan could be that person. He's still banging goals in for France. He established himself as the third highest goal scorer in Ligue 1 history. He scored 81 goals across his career in the French top flight, and has 4 goals and 2 assists and 10 appearances for Nice so far this season. He's scored 138 goals in 456 appearances, according to Wikipedia, and could have the physicality to match what we had with Nicholas Füllkrug. Now he's 30. I get it. He's not a spring chicken, but he's not coming in to be a spring chicken. He's coming in to do a job, which is to fit a piece to parcel. So rather than necessarily going out and buying someone who's maybe he's young or might not fit, he would fit what Potter wants to do. And because of that, Russy Rumour rating, the original Rumour rating, gives him 70% because I think he's not going to be too expensive as well. It's a stopgap, but I think he could really help us. I think he'd suit the style of football that Potter wants to play with his main target man striker. If we could get Andy Carroll back, a fit Andy Carroll, he'd probably be ideal, in all honesty. But he's not. He's banging him in for League doing it for what's the name, isn't he? Absolutely smashing him in France as well. But I think someone like Gaetan could be a good option. Sticking with Nice, ex-WHU employee mentions we were looking at the Ivory Coast international striker, Evann Guessand. Now, he is someone who's had a good goal return this season for Nice, 7 goals and 4 assists in 16 league appearances, and could provide the added goal threat that West Ham need. He's quite physical as well, so he's quite a big lad as well. Not the tallest, I suppose just over 6 foot, slightly taller than Gaetan, to be honest. But he could be another option. I think he'd probably be more expensive. The former French under-21 man came through the Nice academy, but a move to the Premier League could tempt him away. He's 23, but also the forward can play on the right wing rather. So that could be very beneficial to West Ham. We've obviously Bowen on the sidelines with a broken foot. The fact, he can play up top on his own, but if we then got another striker, or he could play alongside another striker, potentially drift off onto the right-hand side, could be. It's definitely League I think is going to be our fishing pond for our striker. I've given him 60% because I think he's going to be a bit more expensive. He's younger, but we know Nice are looking to sell to get off their wage bill. So I think Gaetan would probably have a higher wage than Evann, in all honesty. Let's go back into the Premier League. Another player we've been linked with is another guy we've been linked with again. Again, comes from ex-WHU employee. He says that West Ham are exploring the possibility of signing Nottingham Forest Nigerian striker Taiwo Awoniyi due to our injury crisis and strikers. Now, I think he's someone we were linked to before when he was at Union Berlin. At the moment, Chris Wood is preferred up front by Nuno Espirito Santos. He started just 2 league games this season, scoring 1 goal. I think it was against us, wasn't it? I think so. But we know what he brings. He is basically a Michail Antonio 2.0. He's got 2.5 years left in his contract, though. So he might be tempted for a move away to revive his career. But Forest might want to cash in. It would help money off the books. They could reinvest the money. We haven't got a price tag on him. in terms of that, and that could make a massive difference because he will come with a Premier League price tag. But again, Premier League ready, slightly different because he has the pace to break the lines. So it'd be interesting to see how he would work. Obviously, balls over the top. You got the three of him, Kudus, Bowen, Somerville. Three of those four, absolutely. The pace and power of Taiwo as well. He's a big lad and very much, as I said, like a Michael Antonio. Really, in all honesty, and because of that, the Russy Rumour rating, the original Rumour rating, has given Taiwo 70%. I could see this one happening sooner rather than later. He's surplus to requirements, and we need a striker. And we need a striker who can come up to speed pretty sharpish in the Premier League. We've got a lot of games going back to back now, so he would come in and could start the next stage, you know what I mean? Let's move into midfield. Obviously, we've been linked with a number of midfielders like Dewsbury Hall and stuff like that. But according to the Daily Mail, West Ham have reignited their interest in the Juventus and former Aston Villa Brazilian midfielder Douglas Luiz. Juventus are desperately trying to sell him, apparently in order to raise funds for transfers themselves and looking for a striker, and obviously was heavily linked with Nicholas Füllkrug. And they see Douglas as being surplus to requirements, and it should be IZ, not IS. I do apologise, Douglas. I'm sure you're watching. Obviously, he would, him coming in would complement the likes of Lucas Paqueta, obviously Brazilian teammate as well. His final season at Villa Park, 9 goals and 5 assists in 35 appearances, and a real box-to-box midfielder, plenty of energy, could make technically very gifted. Him alongside Alvarez, woo! That would be nice. All comes down to money, really, doesn't it? To be fair, his experience, Premier League ready, can make a difference. I just think his wages are going to be a bit of an issue, and with that, I'm going to give him the Russy Rumour rating, the original Rumour rating, only 40%, 4 out of 10. And lastly, an article over the weekend shows West Ham are apparently interested in Havant and Waterlooville left back Ruben Livesey Austin. The reports over, I think it was on Saturday, that West Ham are keeping an eye on the 20-year-old, and they've been watching him closely this season. Us and several other Premier League clubs have also been taking checks on the defender, who plays in the Southern League Premier Division South, the 7th tier of English football. He's a former Portsmouth trainee. He moved to Havant and Waterlooville on a free transfer in the summer 2024. He made his way through Worthing Town's youth ranks and spent time on loan at Bognor Regis. Interesting, because obviously you think Ollie Scarles and how whether that's changed our mentality of bringing in, or whether we just want to completely revitalise that left side. I've got a feeling that you could well see Emerson potentially moved on in January, this transfer window, in the way that obviously Potter's system works. Particularly means we can get some money for him. I think we rate Emerson about 10 million quid. And bringing in obviously you've got someone like Ollie Scarles who can do a job. I don't think he's thrown in at the first team, week in, week out. But then bringing in someone like Ruben as well, that's completely, you got rid of a 30-year-old and bringing a 20-year-old. Just your squad will get a lot younger. But he's non-league, it's a real Roy of the Rovers type signing. And I just don't think at the moment we are in a position to take gambles. In the summer, maybe, he comes on trial. Obviously, we've got the young lad from Scotland on trial at the moment, and I think maybe Ruben comes in and can, he's still 20, so realistically he can still play within the 21s and maybe trial through them. But I just think, I just can't see us taking risks at the moment. Everything we've got to do is quite calculated. The lack of funds, apparently. I just don't think it's something we'd look at just now. So I've given him a 40% of the Russy Rumour rating, the original Rumour rating. So as I said, we keep an eye on all the players we've been linked to. We're about 30 now, I think. about 30 players so far. And I have no doubt this is going to ramp up exponentially. That's a good word. In the next week or so, particularly with the forwards. I mean, there's 4 forwards we've been linked to today. As I said, keep it on the channel. We'll have Hammers headlines later on, and we'll have the return of the Academy show as well. We've recalled quite a few players back off loan, and we've signed a few players on pro deals and all that type of stuff. So exciting times in the Academy, and we start again at Rush Green on Friday night. So I'm looking forward to that. It's going to be fucking cold. But anyway, take care, stay safe, stay warm, stay humble, keep the faith, and come on, you bloody irons. Much love. Bye-bye.